Okay, let's get started. Welcome, you guys. My name is Chloe Ballatori. I am a relationship and communication expert. I am a graduate of Princeton University and Pat Allen's Want Institute. I'm also 20 years married. I've been doing this work for over 10 years. I use the tools of transactional analysis as created by Eric Berne. I use the tools of androgynous semantic realignment as created by Pat Allen. And I also use tools that I've come up with myself after having done this work for over a decade. I've also written 3 books about this work. The first one, How to Live, Find, Love, and Keep It. That's really the guidebook for the basics that we're going to go over tonight. My second book is New Ways of Being, The Pain of Change, which helps you navigate the changes that come about from doing this work, because when we do this work, you will see change, and change is inherently painful, even change for the better. So a lot of times when we're changing and things aren't going quite the way we want them to, or we encounter some pain, or even if things are going well, we will still experience pain because there is pain inherent in change. So I help people a lot with that. And then my third book is Secrets to a Good Marriage, What is Love? And so all those books are available on Amazon. I put in the chat where you can find them and me. Okay. So what is this work? Why are we here? What are we doing here? This work is a game changer. It is all about bringing balance into your life, into yourself, and into your relationships, because the most successful relationships are those that are balanced between complementary energies. And pretty much all energy on this planet, at least, is organized by duality, right? We have night and day, we have yin and yang, we have feminine and masculine, which we're going to be talking a lot here. So, when we get out of balance, this really makes us what's called ego dystonic. And sometimes what gets us out of balance, oftentimes, is childhood trauma. Anything that we experience from the ages of 0 to 12 affects us more than anything else that happens later in life, simply because it occurs during a critical window. And so we end up having to adopt certain survival strategies and coping mechanisms during this 0 to 12 window, right? Because we need to be attached to our parents. We need to get along with the people who own the refrigerator. We need to get our basic needs met. And that's often at the cost of our own authenticity. Now, some parents are well-meaning, some parents are ill-meaning. So effects from childhood can be varied. And it's also true that no two people react to something the same way. So you may be traumatized by something that a sibling isn't traumatized by, for example. But the problem is when we bring these coping mechanisms into our adult life, that's when we really find that they sabotage us, because then we end up recreating the conditions of our childhood and then recreating those same relationships in an effort to resolve those relationships, to heal those relationships. But it's just wrong-headed, because we're using the same coping strategies and expectations, patterns of behavior and thinking that we did in childhood. Okay. So I help people a lot understanding what those patterns are. I help people bring themselves into balance between their own yin and yang energies, also known as feminine and masculine, so that they can put their best foot forward and get what they want. out of life, out of relationships, because it's in our relationships that we most often see these traumatic experiences surface, these triggers happen. Okay. These are where we see most of our issues. Um, what am I talking about? Balance, yin and yang, feminine and masculine. There's a lot of misunderstanding about those terms. So, feminine energy, passive, patient, vulnerable. Feminine energy is right side of the brain. It's the world of feelings. It's the world of spirituality, sexuality, sensuality. Feminine energy is in the world to make it fun, but it's not of the world. It's like air, okay? It's receiving. Masculine energy, left brain, yang energy, that is logical and linear. That's competitive, conquering, controlling, giving, nurturing, taking care of. These are all masculine, yang, left brain energies. And the metaphor for that stuff, right? This is the world of thoughts. Most of us are in ideas. Most of us are in our masculine energy when we're at work, for example. All of us are both. All of us are both feminine and masculine. And everybody has to find their authentic balance. And for most of us, that means recovering a sense of balance that was lost in somewhere along the line in childhood when we had to adapt to attach. Okay. And there's a great book called The Yin Yang of Life. I'll put it in the chat. And it's by Dr. Kim and Dr. Lee. And they break down pretty much everything in the universe between yin and yang energies. So if you want to explore that more, you can. But I always find it fascinating. They break down food, they break down colors, they break down seasons. I mean, literally everything you can think of. Okay. So that is the basis of my work. And for the rest of the time, I'm going to take questions from you guys. These sessions are all really driven by you guys. I see in my private practice, I see men, I see women, I see couples. I also teach this work several times a year. In different modules. We just finished the module 2, which was great. And the great thing is about those are they're really small groups. We go deeper than we can go in these meetups. They meet for 4 weeks. Here, I'll put the link for that in the chat as well. And we really end up going deep. It's kind of amazing. And the great thing is we learn from each other, and we're also able to excuse me, we're also able to really apply the theories that we're learning to what's happening in our lives at this current moment. And that is often really instructive because, you guys come to these and you learn stuff, or one of my clients was saying she reads the books, but then applying things is a different story. And so, that's when we can really get in and kind of fine tune and adjust things. I try to be really flexible for my clients because I also like to be there in the moment when people are having issues. One of the issues that I had when I was just going to traditional emotive therapy is like, well, I have an appointment Friday. I'm having a breakdown Tuesday. What am I supposed to do in between time? So I really, to the best of my ability, try to be available for my clients when they need me in the moment. So I often have people calling me from a date, or, outside they just got kicked out of the house, or whatever it is. That's the way that I work. And like I said, this work is a game changer. All this stuff, all the tools that I talk about, you'll really be able to see changes in your life. It's not like going to emotive therapy where you talk and you're recognized and maybe seen by somebody else, which is nice and essential, but you don't necessarily see changes in your life. And so that can become a problem. For me, it just became an exercise in futility to keep going to therapy. So when I found this work, I was really happy. All the stuff I've just described to you, this is all existing scholarship. What's new about this work is the tools to execute on that scholarship. And those are the things that are really innovative, because it's great to hear a lot of theory. It's great to study things and all that. I'm a big fan of scholarship, but it's very different then to apply that theory in your life and see the changes. Like, I'll talk about things tonight. You guys will, have a certain experience from hearing about them, but then when you actually use the tools and do it, you have a deeper experience. And then when you come back and update me, I love to get your updates. And then I hear about your experience. And then we can, it goes deeper and you learn more. And so that's one reason why I love doing these groups, is because we really have that opportunity to learn from each other. Obviously, in privates, we can go a lot deeper. And those are really great too. So right now I have these 3 ways of working with me: coming to the meetups, which are free, doing the module, which is less than seeing me privately, and then obviously doing private sessions. Okay. So now I'm going to open it up for questions, and you guys can ask me about your relationships. You could ask me about communication. A lot of this work is communication tools and how to diffuse conflicts, how to communicate with and negotiate with love as opposed to bullying or seducing. So yeah, you can ask me really about anything. I often answer questions about people's family lives or even work situations. So, Rick, welcome.
Oh, hi, Chloe. I just want to say the video doesn't work.
Yes, I know. I'm doing no cameras tonight.
Oh, okay.
I'm just gonna do audio. I'm just trying out new things, and I think it will be better for I'm gonna be recording these things as a resource. So
Oh, okay. Well, I that's too bad. I prepared an outfit just for tonight.
Is that real? Is that true?
No, I'm just
Okay.
teasing.
We have had that in here before. How's
Oh,
everything
really?
going? How's your flirting going? Are you doing anything?
Well, I think I'm back to just what you were talking about. I think I need to go back to therapy because I have issues with I have 2 issues. I have a abandonment. Probably have more than two. I have abandonment and I have separation anxiety. I
Mm-hmm.
think I've talked to you about it before, but
Yeah, the separation anxiety.
I have this ex-girlfriend that um it's becoming kind of toxic actually because
Right.
I work with her and music and like it happened again last night where I drove like 90 minutes to support her at this to see this band and I had to leave. I left a gig and I got there a little bit late, and she was there with her girlfriend, and I sat a couple of rows behind them. And during the break, I was getting a headache, and I said I'm going to go next door to get some pizza, and I came back and they were gone. She just like left, and it was like so like
Hmm.
something like you don't do that to a friend. Like it was just
Right, without saying anything or texting or
should have called
something.
me. Yeah, she texted, but I didn't get the text until I sat down in the theater and anyway, it felt terrible, and it just brings up all the old issues, that
Right, right. Um, I thought that we talked about you not seeing her except at band practice.
yeah. Well, this was a thing because her friend was in from out of town, a photographer, and she invited me go, and it was sort of like for the band. And then, I called her and she said, well, you know, mission accomplished. She talked to the people that she wanted. She wants to get a gig there. So that was like her whole purpose of going. But
Okay.
um, it felt like I didn't even need to be there. And it just felt like she didn't care whether I was there or not. So
Right. Right, exactly. So remember that next time before you cancel your plans and go out of your way to go and meet up with her. I really do want you to try to stick with not seeing her unless you have to for the band. And you even were saying maybe you'd consider quitting the band because it's become so toxic. And she's just, she's just not, she doesn't respect you. She doesn't respect you and she doesn't cherish you.
that's how I was feeling last night. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I understand why you feel bad. And I think part of the reason that you feel even worse is because it's not the first time. And so you're setting yourself up over and over for pain like this. And I think that makes it worse because you
Yeah.
know better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know it's hard. I know you're lonely. I know you want to go out and do things. And I want you to go out and do things too. But I really think this is like stoking your pain addiction, contact with this woman.
Yeah.
You cannot play with toxic people because it's very hard to build yourself up, and then but it's very easy for someone to tear you down. Now with this, you never know when it's going to happen. You're going to go out on the street, some unhoused person's going to yell at you, or road rage at you. I mean, things are happening all the time, but you don't have to make it worse by making plans with somebody who treats you like crap you know
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
I mean, I'd rather see you go do your seated flirt that night, you know, even if you don't
Yeah.
meet
Yeah.
anybody, at least you're doing something for yourself.
Right.
I just don't see you building with this woman, so why keep interacting?
Yeah. So just restricted to the music.
Yeah. I just think she's going to keep disappointing you, you know.
Yeah.
Unless you can just go and have plans with her and go and know, hey, if I see you, you're probably going to treat me like crap. Oh well, but I don't think you can do that. And that also seems like a waste of time when you could be putting your energy into meeting somebody who likes your beard.
Yeah. Well, this was unexpected. I mean, because I partially wanted to see her friend too, because I'm kind of friends with her, and they just left, and I was like, and there was another hour to drive back. It was like Pasadena, it was a long drive.
Yeah, no, she doesn't respect you or cherish your feelings. And I mean, that's one of the great things about this work is that, it gives you a rubric to assess the relationships in your life. And you may come to a point where if somebody doesn't cherish your feelings or respect your thoughts, that you just don't want to have anything to do with them because what's the point?
Yeah. Well, I think she respects my sort of musical um, and thoughts or whatever, but
Right, but
she
those
doesn't.
weren't being called for that night.
Sorry.
Those weren't being called for that night.
Right, and she like consults me with sort of business questions and things like that.
Okay.
So she,
Well, you can choose to continue that side of the relationship, the working relationship, if it's not too painful for you. But start saying no to the other stuff. Just doing that is going to build your confidence.
okay,
Okay. Okay. Try that and let me know how it goes. And try to get back into your flirting.
all right, I'll try.
Thanks. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about the 5 flirts, and this is the homework that I assigned for single people. And it means that you're going to be flirting 5 times a week. 4 of those times are going to be moving. Like, so just in the course of your day, you're walking down the sidewalk, you're picking up your coffee, you're going grocery shopping. You see someone who catches your eye, literally 5 seconds of eye contact, smile at the same time. If you're in the feminine energy, you're going to wait. That's your signal that you're open to being approached. If you're in the masculine energy, you're going to look for that eye contact being returned, and then you can make an approach. 1 day a week, you're going to be, 1 day a week, you're going to be doing a seated flirt, and you're going to pick a spot where you like the look of the people that hang out there. And, you might play around with a bunch of different spots. I remember when I was single, I liked to go to the Starbucks near the fire station because those firemen would always be there. And you plant yourself for 45 minutes to an hour. Bring a book, go alone, bring your phone, whatever it is, but that way you're seated so somebody can come up to you and, approach you, or you can do the eye contact and smile, and you can approach them. You have a little more time, or stay around 45 minutes to an hour. It's also a good way for people to start to get to know you. One of the reasons people often fall in love at work is because they see each other repeatedly and they don't have the stress of having to make dates. So you're just showing up somewhere regularly, somebody gets to know you a little bit better, and then you start to form connections. And a lot of people are forming connections just based on even just friendships from doing these flirts, right? This was Susan said last week, is she met a really interesting woman just doing this seated flirt once a week. So it can be really useful with platonic relationships as well. Okay, Nil. And you guys, if you have questions, raise your hand or put your question in the chat. Hi, Nil.
Hi,
Welcome. How can I help you?
remember I uh, messaged you last Thursday? Remember?
Kind of. And you said you wanted to meet a girlfriend, right?
Yeah, I never had
You've
before.
never had a girlfriend. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. How old are you?
I'm 23.
Okay. Okay. So did you listen to what I just said about the 5 flirts?
Yep.
Okay, so that would be a good place to start. Now, let me ask you this. Everybody wants both, but what's more important to you? To get your feelings cherished in a relationship, or your thoughts respected? When the
Uh,
chips are down and there's a conflict, which do you want more? One's masculine, one's feminine.
I have no idea.
Okay. Okay, so that's something that I suggest you think about for a little bit and ruminate on. You can
Okay.
also experiment a little bit with that. In one scenario, you can be in your feminine, which would be feelings cherished. In one scenario, you'd be in your masculine, which is thoughts respected. Do you want to take care of somebody, or do you want to be taken care of in a relationship?
Uh, I wanna take care of them.
You want to take care of them. Okay.
Huh?
So that means that you would be in the masculine. Okay.
Hmm?
So that means thoughts respected. That means you're going to be making the first move on those flirts. So if you have 5 seconds of eye contact and a smile
Hmm?
reflected back to you when you send it out to somebody that you think is attractive, that you like, that's your signal that it's okay to approach and start a conversation.
I don't know how to flirt.
Okay, well, I'm teaching you. It's the 5 seconds of eye contact and the smile. That's where it starts, with the eye contact. Eye contact and smile at the same time. Okay.
Hmm?
Then, if that eye contact and smile is returned to you, if you look at someone and she doesn't look away, but she looks back and she smiles and looks in your eyes, then oh, she might be interested. So then your next move is to approach her and say something. So, so it could be, can I buy you a cup of coffee? It depends where you're at. Do something simple. Make it be like just something that's in front of you. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And go places, go somewhere at least once a week where you like the look of the people who are there, where it will be a good place to plant yourself for 45 minutes to an hour. And, see who comes in. Make your move on people on people you like who come in. Try to strike up a conversation.
Okay.
Do say something, compliments are a good way, right? Opening a door for a woman, think about ways you can cherish a woman's feelings. Um, asking questions. Do you understand? Does that make
Yep,
sense?
I
Okay.
think so.
Okay. So try doing that and let me know how it goes.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. So you guys can ask me any questions you want about anything that I've said so far as well, or anybody else's work, or anybody else, any of the advice that I've given anybody else. And you can also put things into the chat. So if you have a question, put something in the chat or raise your hand. I usually do these for about an hour. Sometimes we go a little more, sometimes we go a little less. And everything is really motivated by what you guys want. This is my only free event that I'm doing right now. Right now, I'm doing them once a week. I might adjust that, but exploit it, use this time. This work is all about using the tools, like I said, of transactional analysis, of androgynous semantic realignment to get what you want. But if nobody has any questions, I'll just close it down. I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Oh, here we go. Brett. Hi, Brett.
Hey, Chloe, how's it going?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good, good, good. I guess if no one's gonna chime in, I can, right?
Yes, how can I help you?
Oh, yeah, no, just I don't know. Maybe part of the reason I've not been chiming in is because things have been going pretty well lately. So,
Oh, right. Don't you have a girlfriend now?
well, I wouldn't go so far as to say a girlfriend, but yeah, yeah, somebody we're spending time together, and enjoying getting back out there, enjoying her company and stuff like that. It is interesting though, because even with somebody where things go kind of smoothly, like just start noticing little things that I'm like, a big litmus test is like, are you more attracted to someone as time goes on, or do you get less and less attracted?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And I kind of realized that she does a little bit of that, what you call those people that try and capture both the yin and yang, or does that make sense?
Yeah, when you go, the problem is when you go, and that's okay in just, if it's working, it's okay. The
Yeah,
problem comes when there's an awkward situation or a conflict.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Then if you're approaching a conflict and you're trying to take up the feelings and the thoughts, it ends up being an act of narcissism because the other person has nowhere to go.
yeah. And it's just slightly that way. Like, does that make sense? It's so like normally would be, I guess, unnoticeable, but yeah. So I mean, I still really enjoy her company and everything, but then every once in a while, I do notice some things coming up.
Right, some conflicts. Well, right. I mean, most people don't know this work. They don't know how to do this balancing act, right?
Yeah,
And I remember when my husband and I mean, we went a good 10 years without too many problems, but then a lot of problems hit.
yeah,
And that's one of the 10 years is kind of a marker in periods of relationships anyways. But Then when the problems hit, then it really became necessary to use
Yeah.
these tools or to learn these tools. But I remember in the very beginning, my husband and I were both like, when Dr. Pat was like, who wants their feelings cherished first? We'd both raise our hands. Who want their thoughts respected first? We'd both raise our hands.
Yeah.
She's like, I see you guys. Like,
Yeah.
it's really hard. It can feel very scary to give one up.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's not like there's really been any conflict. There was a small little thing, and I like handled it right away. And she was like the next day, "Oh my God, that you're like so much more mature than me. I'm a little embarrassed." Like she had like really positive feedback about the way I handled it. So it's only been
That's
one,
good.
yeah,
Sounds like she might be teachable, which is,
yeah,
the most important thing.
yeah. So, and as I mentioned, it's nothing too severe, but it's like I do see I think probably maybe the attraction wasn't strong enough to begin with. And then if there's like stuff that starts to come up that like, I guess more like you could put it in the category of like, oh, I could see how this could become an issue for me down the road. Does that make sense? Like with repeated
Yes.
to the same.
Yes.
But if
Yes.
you're out on a date, you're enjoying yourself and you can like, we're having a good time and everything. We enjoy each other's company and um,
Right.
then you can just kind of like brush it off, but it does kind of sit in your mind as like, that kind of contributes over the long term to like the attraction just diminishing but bit by bit over time, which is the
Exactly.
opposite of what you want.
It
Yeah.
kills the chemistry, basically, when somebody takes up both sides. And when you don't have that balance, that yin yang balance in the relationship, it does dull the chemistry. But look, the most important thing is if she's teachable. It sounds like she's open-minded, so that's good. And you'll just have to see how it develops over time. The basic test I use is, are they 51% valuable? If they're 51% valuable, we keep them.
Yeah.
And because nobody's perfect. We're all out here, we're all fixers. And then the other thing I was going to say is that there's periods of courtship and relationships too. So the first 3 months are generally called the perfect period. The second
Right.
3 months are then the imperfect period. Are you in the second 3 months yet?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess even, just to say that I think I've kind of decided that I'm probably not going to end up getting in a relationship with her. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think that's kind of
That's where it's going. Okay. So are you flirting with other people? Are you
well, I'm a little maxed out with work and everything, and so like I don't like have enough spare energy to like, but I do I'm like, Jesus, I gotta start, yeah, basically start flirting with other people. I know that sounds bad, but
No. I mean, ideally, before you're in a relationship, you're dating 3 people.
yeah,
So that you don't get overcommitted to one,
right,
right, before you're actually committed. And so it's not either or. If it's just 2, then you're like deciding between 2 options that don't really exist yet. So 3 tends to be like the magic number
yeah,
in terms of, look, none of these tools are going to eliminate vulnerability in relationships, but it just mitigates it a little bit.
yeah. And I have an interesting kind of about something that I got from this. You kept on saying to people, try stuff out of your comfort zone, and
Mm-hmm.
just one example. Um, of this steadfast rule of nobody under 30. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's might seem arbitrary, but it's like I've also noticed that between 28 and 32, there seems to be a shift, and I went through
Agreed.
it, and
Yeah.
all my friends went through it, and everything. And so there's this life stage shift. So it's not the number 30, it's really like, have you gone through that shift or not? And but then lo and behold, there's this woman, she's like 28, and it's a little bit probably younger than my own. She like we've known each other for a while and everything, and there's always been quite a bit of like sparks between us. Never took it to, but like recently, I'm like, why not? I mean, if it's just dating, right? Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, she might
The
be right.
I mean, age doesn't matter that much. What I don't like is when I see predatory situations, and so often when there is a big age difference, it is predatory, right? Because
Right,
somebody's using their power, their age, their maturity, their money, whatever it is, to control somebody else. But if that's not the case, then everybody matures at a different rate. So I'm for it.
yeah, yeah. And just sort of like being like open-minded to new and different experiences, I guess, is the best
Yes,
one.
that's so
Yeah.
important, because that's one of the things that happens in our childhood, is that we kind of get, and this is, again, this has its plus side in terms of, like, we're so good at adapting, right? We
Mhm.
need to adapt to our environments, but we're too good at adapting. And so we get kind of used to seeing and expecting the same things over and over again. And then that becomes the only things that we're seeing. And so it is really important to try new things and to challenge yourself even when you're scared, so that you can literally open your mind, open your horizons. It's also how you stay young, by meeting some of these psychological challenges. That really
Mhm.
keeps you young. The more you avoid something, the worse it gets.
Right, right. Yeah, and no, I really like the idea of like dating like 3 people at a time or whatever, as long as you're not like, I guess you gotta kind of can't sleep with them, right? Because it's like then you're like, that then attachments start forming.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, you can sleep with them. Intercourse is a different story, right?
So, but
Intercourse, and that's fine. If you want to engage in casual sex, that's fine. But it's just that the two of you both need to understand. Like, what I object to is telling a woman you want to be in a relationship just so that you can have intercourse, and then that's not really true.
right.
So it's
Correct.
just that you guys need to just make sure before intercourse happens that you're on the same page, because I'm not into deceiving people.
Sure.
And then for women especially, but you're an older guy, it might happen to you, but for women especially, we can get bonded to people even we know aren't good for us.
Well, that's what I was gonna say
Intercourse.
about
Yes.
the dating multi. Like I've actually, just kind of gone into relationship after relationship after relationship, and it's like either completely single or in a relationship. And yeah, one of the happiest times of my life was when I was doing exactly that, just dating 2 or 3 women at a time and not getting very serious with any of them, and just enjoying getting to know people and their company and everything. And it did help the not getting into the, because you really do have to wait until the
Right. The problem is, once you
person is
start
there.
once you start having the intercourse, that part becomes so exciting that you sort of stop getting to know each other for a while.
Yep.
And so then that ultimately ends up not giving you enough information to know if you need to, if you want to invest into a long-term relationship.
Absolutely. And
It doesn't mean you can't
also
fool
about to catch it.
around. You can make out, you can, do other things. It's just no anal, oral, vaginal sex.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
are the things that release the oxytocin in the brain that causes you to bond.
Well, that's kind of where we're at with Denise is her name. It's just we're just kind of dating, doing kissing and holding and stuff, and that's about it. And it's about as far as I'm willing to go.
Right.
Because I don't want to, if I just got out of a situation, I don't want to get in too deep with anybody. But I've also kind of communicated to her, like not in explicit terms, but enough hints here.
Okay, so she doesn't think that you're in a relationship.
Oh no.
Okay, because
No.
she should be dating too.
Probably. I've not asked her,
Mhm.
it's just like, don't bring that stuff up, because, I guess even bringing that stuff up, relationship discussion.
You're kind of going in and out. Sorry.
Oh, I said, even just bringing that stuff up, I said, no, I've not brought it up, but I've thought about it. Like, yeah, she could very well be already out dating other people, you know, and because we've not had any sort of exclusivity talk at all, you know.
Right, right. She might, right, exactly. And she probably assumes you are too, or even, you know, you're within your rights too, in regardless.
Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah,
happy to hear that you're getting out there and that you're not, you know, waiting anymore.
Oh, waiting to like get back into the
Yeah,
swing of
waiting
things
to get
and-
ready because, you know, that can go on. Didn't we have someone in here who had been waiting 7 years?
Oh my God, yeah.
So you never you know, there's often not really a time where you're going to feel ready. So you just have to kind of like jump in the water.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where these tools help though, because it gives you a little roadmap.
Yeah, I'd agree. You know, I mean, you know, it was kind of a wounding experience what I went through, kind of pretty majorly so. So, you know, healing and stuff. But yeah, you know, in terms of, you know, you kind of grow in the relationship, I think is what you're saying. That's why you're never truly ready. You just kind of, once you're the right relationship is there, you're growing in the right way.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, thank you for sharing. I look forward to hearing more.
yeah.
Does anybody have any question about Brett's work? Or any of their own questions? No? Yes, no? No update from you, Susan? Okay. Okay. Well, then I will wrap it up. Oh, Joe. Hi, Joe.
I was going to point out that Adrian had put some stuff in the chat, and then I had a question after that.
Yeah, I saw this, Adrian, but I didn't see a question. So I just read it and, you know, if there's a question, you can type that in or raise your hand. Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I was dating a woman recently, and we've broken up since. But as things became more physical, I started to get more sort of, I don't know. So something started to come up with being touched, and I was at a school event, and I was talking to one of the counselors who I talked to about classes, and after we talked, I went and sat down, and later he came over and kind of put his hand on my shoulder and made some joke and smiled at me, and it didn't really bother me too much then, but then it started to, once I started thinking about it later, it bothered me more, and then I tried to I don't know how much we can talk about here, but when I try to engage it in sort of a Jungian, like, active imagination way. I'm just wondering what the problem was, and I think it was 2 or 3 different times I tried to do this, and then I just started to you know, cry. Just started to cry, and but there weren't any. There's never been any memories of anything happening or any images that came to mind. And
How old are you?
38.
Okay. And you're in school?
Yeah, I'm returning to school.
Okay. And so you were triggered by somebody putting his hand on your shoulder?
Yeah, and I mean, it's not something that come up before with any other relationships or anything else, but I mean, it had been a while, but it was just something weird that came up.
Was this person making a move on you? Was it a romantic gesture?
No, I think it was just friendly.
Okay.
The stuff with the woman was romantic, and that was like happening at the same time. So
Okay, I'm confused. You were triggered by, I thought, the man putting the hand on your shoulder.
yeah, that's the thing I was thinking of.
Okay.
but this happened around the same time that I was dating this woman, and things were getting more physical with her.
Okay, and that was also triggering you.
Yeah, like I didn't have a problem touching her, but when she started to touch me, I would freeze up.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, so you might have, especially if you don't have memories of your childhood, you might have had some traumatic experiences that in order to survive them, you had to disassociate from them.
mhm.
So, you know, that for those kinds of, it's good that you're noticing that you were triggered by touch. That's like the first step. For that kind of trauma, I really recommend tapping or EMDR. Have you heard of those modalities?
Yeah, I've heard of both, and I'm actually meeting a guy who does EMDR and there's like Hakomi, and he does a few different body things.
Okay. I mean, I know, what part of the country are you in? Are you in Southern California?
Northern.
Northern California. Okay. Because I know somebody in Southern California who's very good. But there is also, yeah, I mean, see how this appointment goes. If it doesn't go well, there's also a directory that you can search online of all EMDR practitioners, and they often have like different prices too. So it depends if you can afford something or not. But like, so you can see like different levels of practitioners if that's an issue.
Okay.
But yeah, for stuff like that, it's when you're having a trigger, it's never about what's happening in the moment. It's always
Yeah.
about something that happened in the past. And if you can't access that memory, it's actually a really good sign that this is happening, because if you can't access that memory, if the brain can't think it and the mouth can't articulate it, at some point it will manifest in the body as disease. So
Okay.
you're on the right track. I'm really happy to hear that you have an appointment. This is another really good book here.
Yeah, but like
And
or,
I was just going to say, the great thing about EMDR and tapping is you often see results very quickly. And I mean like few sessions quickly.
okay.
So this could be like, really pivotal for you. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just saying, like, the other things that came up was just saying like, don't touch me, and this some kind of phrase like just sudden friendliness from a male, and just something, yeah, just a bit, again, there's no clear associations to anything,
But right, I mean, obviously we can it does seem like there must be some kind of abuse that you're some kind of memory that you're disconnected from. And, a lot of times, especially when we're talking about sexual abuse, those memories get locked away even tighter because we interpret our participation in them as liking it, or even
Yeah.
sometimes, you can have an orgasm from something that you don't like. You
yeah,
can be raped and have an orgasm. So it's like, I just want to caution, if you do stumble upon some hidden memories, it probably will be a painful experience, and just try to be as compassionate to yourself as possible during that time, and not blame yourself for things that happened to you as a child. We tend to internalize that responsibility, partially because it gives us a sense of control, partially because we don't really understand things when we're children, because we're not fully developed. So here's another book that I really like too that might be helpful.
okay.
And sometimes it's hard, see if you connect with this person and it resonates, and it inspires confidence in you, wonderful. If it doesn't, don't be afraid to find someone else, you
Okay.
know. The guy that I really like, I'll put him in the chat too. And maybe, I don't know if he does virtuals, but his name is Jeffrey White. And he's in West Los Angeles. But you know, it, like I said, I think this is a really powerful tool, EMDR and tapping. And some of it you can do on your own, but I think in your situation, you did the right thing. You're finding someone to help you with it. And yeah, let me know how it goes. I look forward to hearing what you find out.
Okay. And one other thing I've noticed, I don't know if can be related, but just having not many memories in general from childhood. I mean, it's not like it's all blank, but just, I'm not sure how many memories people have, but
Yeah.
I don't seem to have a lot.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I said, when people, it's usually a red flag for you, you know, when you don't, when you can't remember your childhood, it usually means that there's something that's too painful to remember. And I mean red flag just in the sense that it's something to pay attention to and explore so you don't get sick, so it doesn't torture you. So it's not sabotaging your relationship so that you can receive love from somebody. Right?
Okay.
Because those of us who have been hurt as children aren't real eager to receive from others because we'd rather shut it down instead of getting our hopes dashed again.
Yeah.
And you know, I go through that too. I was an abused child. So I know where you're coming from. And even now, you know, I mean, but it does get, what I can say is it does get better. Is you have to put in work, and it sounds like you're doing that. And then sometimes you'll still see vestiges of it rearing its head. You know, it's like the layers of the onion. It never ends. But I think once you start doing this work and you get some results, you develop a taste for it. And then
Okay.
you will be more inclined to continue, even if it's painful. It will be painful, you know.
Yeah.
But as we've said in this group before, life is full of pain. It takes an extraordinarily strong person to be able to withstand that pain, and not reach for a destructive behavior. And so I like to hear that you've stopped short of, you know, even though you wanted to tell the guy, get your fucking hands off me, you didn't. You just, you know, you moved away, but you didn't, excuse me, you didn't go, you know, nuclear on them. You didn't get triggered to a point where you completely lost your mind. So that's already a positive. You see what I'm saying? You're already at a point of having a certain degree of self-awareness enough to seek help. So,
Yeah.
you know, as long as you're open and teachable, really, you know, the sky's the limit. You
Okay.
you can heal. The brain is plastic. You know, Freud thought, oh, you know, everything happens in 0 to 12. Then well, he actually thought you're really cooked by 3 mostly.
Yeah.
But now we know we can change the brain. So hang
Okay.
in there.
I'll look in those books.
Yeah, check out those books. I mean, the tapping in is good, and you could like even start tonight, you know what I mean, doing some of those
Yeah.
exercises, because I know how it is when you want, when it's partly why I work the way I work, is because when you want help and you finally get to that point of asking for help, it's
Yeah.
so hard to then, oh shit, I've got to wait 2 weeks for an appointment, you know, or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like you just want to get started already.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
okay, good. Well, yeah, come back. You guys know that I love hearing your updates, you know, your stories, your questions. I love to see how your testimonials, I love to see this work in action, and it helps everybody else as well. Okay, anybody else? Quick question about Joe's work or anything else that I've said? Again, you guys can find me here. I'll put it in one more time. You guys can find me on. Oh, Susan. Okay. Okay, Susan. Here, you can find me on IG. I usually put up a piece of original content every day. You can find me here. I'm probably going to be starting the module 1, which is the introductory package pretty soon. And you can see the link for the sign up there in the chat. Okay. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Chloe.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Have to say that I'm liking this spring weather. It's like maybe people in general, but I'm noticing men are noticing me more after, hibernating all winter. It felt like
Yeah.
I go like I was at CVS and this guy's checking me out and at the end of the aisle and then somebody else. And I'm like, oh, I like this.
Yeah, it's spring. That's what Rick, remember we were talking
Spring.
about that last week. It was like,
Yeah.
things are going to heat up now, guys. It's, the weather's warming up.
Good, it's time.
It's time to get your flirt on.
Even at work, eating out, people are eating outside, so there's some flirting going on there. Yeah.
Love it.
So my question was about the place that I have talked about that I enjoy. I've met several people and I really like it, but it's usually women.
Right.
And I'm not sure if it's because easy for me. I can start up a conversation with women and I don't have to think about the yin yang thing about waiting.
Mm-hmm.
But the man, I don't know if it's me or feeling a little nervous about it, or if it's the location. And so I thought, well, maybe I need to try a different location, see how that goes. And if it, because location can make a difference. Probably
It can. And if you're, I understand you like that spot and you can keep going there. I don't know where it is, but if it's mostly women that you're meeting and that are showing up there, you might want to.
No, there's men, but.
Okay. But is it like a granola spot where it's going to be attracting a lot of feminine men?
No.
No? Okay.
No. I think I don't feel confident enough, or, I kind of prejudge the rejection factor. It's like, oh, he looks nice. I wonder, but he's out of my league, or, just
okay,
stuff
right.
like that.
So
like,
don't do that. Right.
Easier, right.
Or you can do that, but don't listen to it. I mean, we can't prevent thoughts from coming up, but we can prevent ourselves from acting on them. So I'll give you an example.
Right.
We talked about the pool a lot in this group, and a public pool, et cetera, and different strategies, people who are going to the pool to flirt and whatnot. I was there recently and I was just standing in line. There are actually a lot of men at the pool. I noticed that. So that might be a spot for you. But I was standing in line and it's funny, I know what you mean. I used to think that to get a conversation going with a guy, I would have to necessarily start it. I just couldn't wait for them to do it or not do it or, whatever.
Yep. I can relate.
Yeah. But I've been noticing that, the more I do this work, the more I'm in my feminine energy, it just, even though I'm not dating anybody, I'm not even going out for flirting because I've been married 20 years. Just because I've changed my energy so much and I'm so much more feminine than I used to be, men will still approach, right? And so I was looking at just the vending machine. So this is like just an example of something you could do. I was just looking at the vending machine and kind of like studying it, or, one day I was just reading the posts on the wall and, we were standing in the line. So there was men all around me. And both of those times men, tried to help me with what I was doing. Oh yeah, the water is more than the soda in the vending machine. men get a bad rap for mansplaining. I'm not talking about that. I like it when men try to help me, right? I want to receive that. If I'm at work and they're telling me I'm wrong about something I know, well, then that becomes mansplaining. But to just be helpful, is a very cherishing thing. And so both of these incidents, I was just standing there looking at something, and the man said something because, oh yeah, the pool's actually, the guy was full of wrong information at the time it was the bulletin board, because he was like, oh yeah, this is the pool's gonna be closed at this time or whatever. And so if, as much as you can kind of like do those things that amp up your feminine energy, moving slower, using your left hand, leading with your feelings, waiting, letting him talk first, that is going to attract a more masculine man who will ultimately start a conversation with you. Now, again, you can always ask a question if you're interested in somebody, like, excuse me, your food looks amazing. Is that the apple pie? I really am craving apples, or whatever it is, right? So if nothing's happening, you can always ask for help. That's still being feminine. I think I've told the story before of a client that I had who was going to Whole Foods all the time and was seeing this guy, and they'd even chatted a little, but he wasn't pulling the trigger, right? He wasn't doing anything outside the store. And so we made a little plan that she would be in the parking lot when he was leaving and have a stumble, not hurt herself majorly, but just have a little stumble and see if he came to help her. And it worked. He did. And then they ended up going out on a few dates. So, things like that, where, you just put yourself in a position in which you're open to receiving help. Does that make sense?
Yes, which is hard for me to do, because as a single woman,
You're not too stoked to be vulnerable, right?
Yeah. And like, I've raised kids, I've moved, I've done all this stuff. And so it's kind of hard to, take the back seat or whatever and wait. But that is what I want. But it's having the
Yes.
confidence that someone will want to help me. I think that's part of it too.
Yes, it's that inner struggle. And most struggles are inner struggles. All this work, it's about relationships. So it really does come down to the relationship you have with yourself. Because that's where everything starts, and when you change that energy, it radiates to your whole life. And we've all had that experience when everything's going our way. And this is kind of one of those things you can do to sort of put you in that mode all the time, so that even if things aren't technically going exactly your way, they're still going your way because you're coming from a place of balance within yourself. I know it's really hard to be vulnerable, and it's really hard to be patient, but it is just a matter of practice.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't be too hard on yourself. You are making a lot of great strides, and again, look at it as an experiment. Be like, oh shit, this is hard. Oh my God, I like that guy and he's not coming over here. What the like, oh, this is and just sit with it. Being able to observe yourself a little bit is helpful.
Okay, I'll try that.
Okay. And the more awareness you can bring to it, the better. A lot of times all we can do is bring awareness. Oh, there, I did it again. I started the conversation. The problem is when you do that is masculine men they need to be needed, right? They need to the masculine energy needs to do good to feel good. Feminine energy needs to feel good to do good. And so you're taking away his ability to do good when you are doing everything. And oh my God, I get it so much, because that's what's gotten you through all these tough times is your masculine side. So you almost feel like, you're letting it down. But you have a job, so you have a lot of opportunity to be masculine during the day, right?
Right.
And you're still very
before your program, I used to think men wanted to know that, like, a woman or me, that I'm competent. I didn't want to look, do something, or that they had to help me. So
right.
this is new. This is new. Yeah.
Right. It was new for me too when I heard it. And I was like you, I was
Mhm.
like, oh, right. It's like a job interview. I got to put my best foot forward. And it's actually the
Mhm.
opposite. And I can see now why so many masculine men that I was like, why isn't he like me? Well, that's because you're competing with him. You know, that's because I was competing. That's because I was trying to outman him. Right. So
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, God, if I had had these tools in high school, and actually one thing that's been really nice is I have had the opportunity to work with a lot of young people.
Mhm.
But yeah, you know, that's one of those just like misconceptions. It's not a job interview. It's okay to be
Yeah.
vulnerable, even though that's not the way you were raised. A masculine man will want that. And then you find out if he's cherishing, you know?
Yeah.
I had a client who, God, she was so hung up on this guy. But she wanted a masculine guy, and he was very feminine. He was very, very good looking. He was in the fashion industry. And she basically learned how to ride motorcycles just to be like near him, because he was very into motorcycles. And she got a
Mhm.
coach, and she did all this stuff just so she could keep up with him. And she was riding motorcycles with him, and she had an accident. This first accident actually wasn't that severe, but it was, you know, nevertheless an accident. She was on the ground, and he kept going.
Oh my gosh.
He didn't come and see if she was okay,
Oh, yeah. Forget him.
you know? So yeah,
Yeah.
that was a really bad sign,
Hmm.
you know? So it's important to get that
Yeah.
information earlier rather than later. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's okay. You can be a little vulnerable. It feels bad because we associate it with the vulnerable feelings that we had as children. But now you got to remember, even if you get triggered by it, you're a grown up. You're not a little kid. You can handle it. All the things you just said to me, you can handle it. You're
Right.
you're a badass. But you're doing great. I'm really proud of you.
Thanks, Chloe.
You are welcome. Okay. Does anybody have a question about Susan's work? Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up now, you guys. You know where to find me. You can reach out to me if you have questions in between this meeting and the next meeting. You can reach out to me on Meetup or Instagram or through my website. Sign up for the module if you want to learn more and really like get a feel for how to apply some of these tools to your life and see the changes that people are already been seeing. You know, this work really does give you an advantage. And that's why I love to teach it, because I can see how much good it does. Okay, well, if I don't hear from you, I'll see you next week. Good night.